Vintage is in fashion. But the irony of the story is that the American car has become the emblem of the rebirth of Havana. These Yank tanks have become cult objects. They are part of Cuba's heritage, and it's illegal to export them. In Cuba, motor mechanics is a passion as much as it is a necessity.
This one has a problem with the steering.
Santiago is one of those magicians who, for decades, has been keeping these classic cars on the roads.
The cars here need to be maintained. We can't let them fall apart. Some parts have been lost, so we need to replace them with others. You find any old motor, and if it works, you go with it. These cars that you see make a lot of smoke. They're almendrons, collective taxis. They have gearboxes from all kinds of trucks, and even tractor engines, so they shake. They're almendrons, and that's what you see in Havana. Collective taxis, really beat up. Before, the whole garage was full of Soviet motors, and now they're all American. The cars have changed, because everyone who comes here wants to find original motors. That's totally new in the past couple of years. Now it's crazy. It's like we're going back in time. Everyone is looking for original motors. Look at these pistons, they're American. Before, we couldn't get hold of them. Look, it fits perfectly. I'm still going to keep the Soviet motors for the future, in case we have to put them back in. Here, you never know what's going to happen. In any case, day after day, the only thing that runs in Cuba is the almendrons.
The old American cars last. They just keep on going. Hundreds of thousands of kilometers for these cars that survived the embargo, the withdrawal of Soviet assistance, and the so-called special period which followed in the early 1990s. The almendrons that survived the tough times are still here. And for a few pesos, that's how the Cubans get around. Roger is a taxi driver. His car embodies the country's history and its exceptional capacity for resistance.
This one has a Mercedes motor, but it's an American Dodge. I don't think there's a single bit of original bodywork remaining. These cars need to be totally renovated so that they don't fall to pieces. They're good for working. They have a solid chassis that can stand up to the bumps and potholes. Modern cars don't have chassis like these. They're more fragile. Prior to 1989, there was decent public transport in Cuba. But when that collapsed, people got out their old almendrons. That's what launched the almendrons, not tourism. We have very basic needs. There is very little public transport. There's one, but you don't know when the next one will come. Shall I drop you here?
Here. Yes, that's perfect. Thanks. Have a nice day.
Does the country operate like an almendron?
No. It's worse. It's worse. The almendrons have an owner that looks after them and improves them and uses them as a business. Granted, we have economic problems, but it's not just that. I think you also need to show an interest. You need to be motivated. Do you know what I mean?
In Cuba, the metaphor is an art one uses to get around censorship. In any case, the revolution continues, according to the walls of Havana. There's no retirement for these old automobiles.
This is the center of Havana, with the old city on the right. This is the tourist area. After the stoplight, it's half tourists, half Cubans. These are cars for tourists. Most of them are convertibles. Do you like the pink ones or the yellow ones?
Aquí. Esta cosa bonita.
Beautiful, isn't she? She's for tourists. That's why she's in such great shape. They're almost always convertibles. Look, they cut the top off because this model wasn't a convertible. It's like a museum. Look how lovely they are. Look at that. How much would that one cost? 20,000? Look, 20,000 CUC. All this looks new. They put plates on, then stainless steel on top, and you think it's new. But it isn't. This one, yes, she's worth 20,000. That's original. They're lovely, solid, shiny objects. You can't deny it, it's impressive. But it's not the cars that deserve the praise. It's us, because no cars last 50 or 60 years. We Cubans struggle to keep these cars beautiful and to maintain them, to stop them becoming wrecks, because that's all we have. The story of these cars is the story of us. We Cubans who fight for survival and do everything that's possible, and even sometimes the impossible. I think all the world knows that. But you have to admit they're beautiful.
They are real gems, dazzling, restored to be as good as new. These taxis have become the #1 tourist attraction and are good business for the owner. Trips are paid for in dollars or CUC, the second Cuban currency, invented to bring in cash with a peso index linked to the dollar. Julio Manuel had a nose for a smart move. He set up a customized taxi agency for foreign customers, a success story with a flavor of the American dream.
Here, we redo all the interiors, and we make them ourselves our own way. And all that is done here with technology that is more than 50 years old. It's an old Singer machine from the 1940s. We're artists. We don't repair cars, we bring them back to life. Here, we restore everything. It takes 7 or 8 months. The dashboard is almost original. The steering wheel, too. The gauges and the radio are original. But the former owner changed lots of things. So we're going to replace them with new parts that I'm importing directly from the USA. This whole part, rub it all down well. The private sector has opened up in Cuba. So I got into business in Cuba. I started out with a 55 Chevrolet that I inherited from my family. It was beautiful and it brought me customers. Business took off, and today I've got lots of old cars I've restored. All these cars are like my children, and I won't sell them when I finish them. This one coming now is the latest baby that I've just finished. Chevrolet Impala from 1960. The last year when American cars came into Cuba. It's a pleasure to drive. It's perfect. I love it. It's the tops. Tomorrow it'll start work as a taxi. I only got to enjoy it for a couple of weeks. Tomorrow it'll get its new driver and we'll move on to another project. This is Revolution Square. This is where the big Cuban government ministries are. You can see all the tourists who come here by car. It's a symbol of Cubania, and we have to maintain this tradition. I think that the reason these cars are still around isn't thanks to the revolution. The revolution is one of the reasons, but the main reason is the American embargo on Cuba for more than 50 years. We weren't allowed to bring in cars. I'm living off that embargo now. Thanks to the embargo, I have these cars that are still going, and I built up a business. Without them, I'd have had another business, who knows? But that's how it is. And so I have my cars. I think that we Cubans now have the chance to change the way we think.
Roger is continually asking the question, pesos or dollars, almendron or tourist taxi? It's not easy to enter the market economy.
I need to make a lot of modifications. Make her prettier, polish her up, make her shine, cut off the roof and maybe even change the engine. Because for tourists, you don't use diesel engines. The original petrol engines are better.
You'd have to replace that, wouldn't you?
No, that's nothing. We can put back some iron, plate it with steel and then repaint it. But I like her like that. I'm very fond of her. A little paint here and that's all. She's not ugly, is she? Is she ugly or just in bad condition?